to my channel. Or if you're new, welcome. I don't mean to assume that everyone has seen me before. My name is Megan, in case you didn't know, and I am going to be doing a new series on my channel. I am obsessed with true crime and all that, so I'm gonna do what I'm gonna call Makeup and Murder with Megan. Tell me that's not a great name. So, some disclaimers. Number one, I know that the makeup and murder side of YouTube is saturated. I don't care. I'm doing this because I like it. I'm not doing it to like get a bajillion of views. I'm doing this because I like it. So I don't really care. There's a cat hair on my camera. I don't really care that it's saturated. Second, I'm not an expert, honestly. If I was an expert on murder, I think my friends and family would be a little concerned. So, I'm not an expert on murder. So if I get anything wrong, feel free to just tell me. Be like, hey, yo, you dumb. And I'll be like, okay, sorry, and I'll change it. Or I'll explain in another video about it. Whatever. I'm also not an expert on makeup, obviously. I'm not going to explain anything I do with my makeup. I'm just going to talk as I do my makeup. I have notes right here so I don't forget anything. I got all my information from many different things. The website, I will link everything below so you know where I got my information. And some of the information is from my head, just from watching a bunch of different stuff and reading a bunch of different stuff about murder. Today is one of the most famous murderers, Ted Bundy. And I know it's also very saturated to talk about Ted Bundy. I understand that. I don't care. I just have read and watched a lot of things about Ted Bundy, so I feel like that would be a good first one to do for me, since I know a lot about it. So, Ted Bundy was born in Burlington, Vermont on November 24th, 1946. His mom was only 22 years old when she had him and was unmarried, and she was very embarrassed by that fact because she grew up in a very religious household, so they frowned upon getting pregnant without a husband. Ted was delivered, when he was born, he was delivered at a home for unwed mothers in Vermont. And after he was born, he was brought to his grandparents, and he was raised by his grandparents, and he grew up thinking that his mom was his sister, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. Like, that's gonna mess you up for probably later on in life. But, like I said, it was very frowned upon that his mother was unmarried, so surprise, growing up, he showed interest in death and injury. I know, it's so surprising, like most murderers do. At age 3, Ted showed a lot of interest in knives, which is very weird. What 3-year-old is like, Mom, I love knives? If your 3-year-old is showing interest in knives, maybe you should be a little concerned. I don't know, I'm not an expert. Growing up, he was very shy, but he was very smart. So he did very well in school, but did not have a lot of friends, which is fine. A lot of people are like that. It's not like you should be concerned. As a teenager, his interests became a lot darker. He became interested in a lot more cynical things, and not just knives, but a lot of things like murder and things like that. He liked to, growing up, he liked to look into people's windows, peek, and steal things. But no one was like, oh, this is weird. Like I said earlier, he was very smart growing up. He graduated from the University of Washington with a degree in psychology, and he was accepted into law school, but never finished that. You know, because he was busy murdering people. But, you know, that's besides the point. Okay, sorry if my lighting's bad, because my light died. Like I said, he grew up very shy, but later on in life, he became a more confident person, and he became really active in social and political issues. So no one really knows when all of these murders like started, because it's not like he was like, it's not like he was telling everyone about it. He confessed to murdering 36, let me make sure that's correct, to 36 women, but it is believed that it could be, he could have murdered 100 or more. No one really knows how many times he's murdered. Like I said, it's not like he's telling everybody. His murders were usually a very gruesome pattern. He usually raped his women that he kidnapped. He usually raped the women that he kidnapped and then beat them to death. He usually lured, that's a weird word, lured his victims by pretending that he was injured and asking them for help. And most of his victims were very sweet and they wanted to help, which was a bad idea, obviously. So, if a stranger comes up to you and says, "Hi, I am hurt and I need your help. Will you get into my car?" Don't do it. Just a tip. So now, how he was caught the first time. He was pulled over by the police and they searched his car. Guess what they found in his car? A crowbar, a face mask, rope, and handcuffs. And the police were like, this is really weird. Maybe he shouldn't have these things in his car. I don't think he's doing like arts and crafts with them. Also, there's been a lot of women going missing or being murdered, and their bodies found, and we don't know who did it. Maybe he's could connect. So they arrested him because obviously, why do you have those things in your car? For fun? Just cuz? So yeah, they arrested him. Anyways, later on he was arrested because he kidnapped a woman and she luckily got away. She luckily got away and was like, "Hey, yo, this man kidnapped me. Pretty sure he was trying to kill me." And they were like, "Okay." So they arrested him. He was convicted and received a 1 to 15-year jail sentence because they didn't connect all the other murders yet. So they could only convict him on the one that they knew of, or the one kidnapping that they knew of, because he was very smart and he hid his murders very well. While he was in jail, they kind of connected the dots and they were like, oh, all those like murders and stuff that happened, maybe these are connected, maybe. What I find really interesting is that he escaped from prison, not once, but twice. Told you, he's very smart. The first time, like I said, he was really smart, so he wanted to be his own lawyer in prison. And they're like, "Sure, dude, go for it." And he was like, "Okay, but I need to go to the law library." And they're like, "Dope, let's do it. Here you go. Here's a library all to yourself. No one's gonna watch you." And he jumped out the window. When he jumped out the window, he hurt his ankle. A woman was like, "Oh, this man just jumped out of the prison. Oh, that's weird. Oh, now he's like limping away. Oh well." No one thought that was weird. He was captured 8 days later, luckily. The second time that he escaped prison, he slowly made a hole on the top of his prison cell, and he lost a bunch of weight so he could fit through the hole. And I guess no one noticed that he was just making a hole every day in his prison cell. so after he climbed out of his little hole, it took the prison a while to realize he was gone, and in that time he somehow managed to go across the country. How he did that, I don't know. And he made his way to Florida. Somehow in Florida, he created a whole new life for himself. He even got himself an apartment somehow without using his real name. Got most of his money from stealing credit cards and all that. Was like, I'm just gonna start a new life and live my life. Live my best life. While he was in Florida, he broke into the Chi Omega house, sorority house, and he attacked 4 girls and killed 2 of them. Also, after that, after he went on his little spree at the Chi Omega sorority house, he kidnapped and murdered a little 12-year-old little girl, and finally he was captured. Finally. Took him long enough. Okay, so after his little murder spree in Florida, he was finally caught for good. No more escaping for you, sir. Because old Teddy Ted was so good looking and charming and smart, during his trial, he was made out to be kind of like a celebrity. He got many love letters. Many girls came to watch him in trial. Which, I mean, when you're like, oh, that's disgusting, he's a murderer, and these women idolized him. It still happens today that Chris, I don't know if you can hear that, it's terrifying. It's Ted. Just kidding. He's mad I'm talking about him. His ghost is coming to kill me. If you think that's really weird, there's a case, I mean, it's not going on anymore because he admitted to it, but Chris Watts, the man who murdered his wife, his pregnant wife, and his 2 kids, his 2 daughters, he is good looking, so he also gets a lot of love letters and stuff. And women are just weird, okay? People are just weird. But I don't know. I don't know, okay? He wanted to defend himself in court, and he fought so hard, but he was unsuccessful. Okay, like I said, he fought very hard, but he was unsuccessful, obviously. And he received he's received a death sentence 3 times. He was on death row for 9 years. Finally, in 1989, Theodore Robert Bundy was executed. He was put in the electric chair in Florida, which they called Old Sparky. And there was many people who tailgated his execution, which I think is pretty cool. Not cool that he was murdered and all that, but like, people are excited that he was getting executed because he was a terrible person. So they were like, heck yeah, let's tailgate this, let's celebrate. So they did. Okay, so they asked him, they said, oh, Ted boy, what would you like for your last meal? And he said, I don't want a last meal. And they said, too bad. And they just gave him some like steak and eggs or something like that. And he was like, I told you I didn't want a last meal. And he didn't eat it. And they were like, fine. Die hungry. See if we care. Murderer. So he did. Apparently, he died a hungry man. So, right before he was executed, in good old Sparky, the electric chair, they said, yo, Ted, got any last words before you die? And he said, why, yes, I do. I hope you can hear that, because I think Ted Bundy's ghost is going to murder me. His last words were, I'd like you to give love to my friends and family. Which sounds sweet, right? Except, you know, he was a murderer. So, that was a very shortened version and a very scattered version of Ted Bundy and what he did. I'm now going to talk about some of his famous quotes. One of his famous quotes was, society wants to believe it can identify evil people, or bad or harmful people, but it's not practical. There are no stereotypes. Which is, kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies. The goosey bumps. Kind of freaks me out, because there's a lot of people who would never think that Ted Bundy would murder people. They were like, he's a nice boy. What are you talking about? He's nice, he's smart. He would never. So I think that's very interesting. Another quote he said was, I don't feel guilty for anything. I feel sorry for people who feel guilt. Which, if you look at it one way, it's like, Ted, you murdered a bunch of people. Maybe you should feel guilty. But if you don't think about him saying that quote, it's kind of like, oh, you know, if you aren't a murderer, I feel guilty for, like, killing a spider, then maybe that makes sense. But, you know, he did a little more than that. The last famous quote that good old Ted said, which I don't think I understand. He said, try to touch the past. Try to deal with the past. It's not real. It's just a dream. Sounds like he was crazy. Or on drugs. Probably both. So this is the finished look for today. And that is the end of the story of Ted Bundy. Like I said, not an expert. If I got anything wrong, I know I left out a lot. I was trying to do this very fast because, you know, I talk too much. So, and this video is going to be so long and I left out a lot. So, if I get anything wrong, let me know. If you have any ideas, if you want to hear about different murderers, I'm definitely going to do some not so famous ones next time. I just wanted to do this one first because I knew a lot about it. Like I said, I'll put all the information I got down below. Let me know what else you want to see. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment down below anything else you want to see. If you want to see more of this, comment that. If you want to see something else, comment that. Give this a like if you like my new series, Makeup and Murder with Megan. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video.